In the quiet, unassuming outskirts of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, a sinister secret lurked within the walls of an ordinary trailer. It's almost unfathomable to think of how something so horrific could hide in the mundane. But this was the dwelling of David Parker Ray, a man who would become infamous as the Toy Box Killer. The name alone sends shivers down the spine, conjuring images of twisted horrors that seeped from the crevices of a seemingly innocent space, a trailer that wasn't just home but transformed into a chilling torture chamber. You might be wondering, how does a person cultivate such darkness within themselves and inflict unimaginable pain on others? We will dive deep into Ray's harrowing story, peel back the layers of his psyche, and reveal the unsettling truth about what transpired within that unremarkable trailer. Buckle up, because the revelations are just beginning. At first glance, David Parker Ray appeared to be an affable, middle-aged man. Before his arrest, he garnered a reputation as a sort of jack-of-all-trades, known for fixing cars and enjoying the outdoors. But beneath this seemingly ordinary exterior lay a deep-seated malevolence. Born on November 6, 1939, Ray's childhood was troubled. He was sexually abused as a child, a cycle of trauma that often seeds darkness in one's psyche. Could these early experiences explain the monstrous life he would lead? There are many layers to understand just how someone like Ray could perpetrate such crimes. In the coming segments, we will delve into rising suspicions and eerie incidents that escalated into a full-blown investigation. But first, imagine it, a trailer, decorated with colorful toys and children's drawings, but inside, it lay host to dark fantasies and terror, the toy box. The juxtaposition of innocence countered by grotesque intentions creates a chilling narrative that is hard to grasp. What on earth drives someone to turn a trailer into a torture chamber? You might be surprised to learn that Ray didn't act alone. He had accomplices, some of whom were complicit in his acts. As the story unfolds, you'll discover how Ray's methods went far beyond simple aggression and coercion. He constructed an entire world of horror, equipped with tools specifically designed to inflict fear and pain, just as you might stock an art studio with brushes and paints. Why would someone need devices deliberately aimed at torturing another human being? What kind of mindset breeds such chilling intentions? Visitors to the trailer would later learn of a room dedicated to everything from chains to sexual bondage instruments, a true manifestation of Ray's sick fantasies. David Parker Ray meticulously crafted an atmosphere steeped in anguish, orchestrating every detail to ensure his victims couldn't perceive an escape. And perhaps even more shocking? Ray had audio tapes in which he not only recorded his actions but also narratively described the horrors that awaited his victims. It's a chilling thought, living through the absolute depths of despair and having it preserved in audio. What purpose did these tapes serve for him? Was it merely a record of his depravities, or was it part of his psychological manipulation? As we explore the layers of Ray's malevolence, let's pause to consider a haunting statistic. It is estimated that a staggering 1 in 6 women and 1 in 33 men experience some form of sexual assault in their lifetime, a sobering reminder of reality for many. David Parker Ray preyed on this vulnerability, meticulously selecting his victims who often felt helpless either due to their circumstances or their backgrounds. Could there have been any signs that led to his eventual capture? Ray perfected his methods over many years. He would often lure unsuspecting women into his trailer with promises of safety or even assistance. Once inside, the victims found themselves trapped in Ray's twisted web, a nightmare from which there appeared to be no escape. His charm, combined with meticulously crafted lies, opened the door to unimaginable torture. Imagine the horror of believing that you've stepped into a haven, only to realize it's a prison designed to strip you of every shred of dignity. How does one process that transformation? As we probe further into Ray's methods, let's consider the power dynamics at play. Victims, once full of hope or trust, would soon discover that any semblance of control over their situation had been laid to waste. Ray wielded power over them in a visceral way, breaking down their will, dismantling their fight for survival. Each encounter amplified his power and fed his insatiable appetite for dominance. When it comes to those who commit such heinous acts, is it merely a quest for power, or is there something more distressingly complex? The narrative takes a deeply unsettling turn as we explore the twisted relationships Ray cultivated not just with his victims but also with his accomplices. One of the most disturbing facts is that, often, his partners in crime were complicit in the malice, aiding in the degradation of those scarcely holding on to their humanity. His girlfriend, Cindy Hendy, played a significant role, ensuring the compliance of the victims and complicating the horrifying experience. How can love intertwine so grotesquely with violence? Is there a threshold at which empathy dies in the face of immorality? David Ray didn't operate in isolation. Various individuals played roles in supporting or enabling his crunching cycle of terror. Many of their backgrounds and stories are just as harrowing, often marked by similar patterns of violence, abuse, and neglect. This deep-rooted entanglement of victimhood, which drew in even those who might have been distant from direct criminality, raises the chilling question: how pervasive can a culture of violence and trauma become before it is recognized? Even after several victims had escaped his grasp or mounted the courage to speak up, law enforcement struggled to connect the dots. This is a tragic truth for many faced with abusers who understand how to evade capture, turning ordinary lives into unthinkable nightmares. Evidence was often disregarded or misinterpreted, leading to a nightmare of silence that allowed Ray to continue his malign activities unchecked for years. Yet, one can hardly ignore the brave souls who sought help, taking steps to reclaim their lives amidst chaos. Each voice, each testimony offered a glimmer of hope, signaling the end of Ray's reign of terror. But what of those whose stories went unheard? What happens to the nameless faces, lost to the shadows of Ray's evil? As investigators began gradually unearthing horrifying evidence, they stumbled upon the intricate layers of Ray's operation. From the audio tapes and the compiled accounts of multiple survivors emerged a complex web of manipulation and coercion. Picture the impact of listening to the audio containing fervent details of unspeakable acts, the echoes of despair etched into memory. The very sound of his voice would unearth a whirlwind of emotions. Would it not evoke fear, anger, or perhaps even disbelief at the monstrous capabilities of human beings? Investigators rapidly turned their focus toward the trailer, like detectives decoding a mystery hidden in plain sight. What they would discover transcended their most harrowing expectations. Instruments of depravity awaited them behind every door, each item telling a part of a gruesome story that unfolded in clandestine shadows. David Parker Ray's life reveals the darkest elements of the human experience, a tapestry woven with pain, manipulation, and an inexhaustible thirst for power. The chilling revelation isn't just what he did, but also how society wrestled with the knowledge of such a chilling reality. In the coming moments, we will uncover what led to Ray's eventual exposure and capture, an event that undoubtedly shook the very community where he had operated his horrors for far too long. If you continue with us, we will expose the climatic events leading to his arrest and how the truth would finally unveil itself, laying bare the bones of this treacherous tale. What comes next will leave you speechless as you witness the brush between torment and reckoning. So stay with us, as the story of the Toy Box Killer continues to unfold, revealing layers of darkness that extend far beyond one man's depravity. As the investigation progressed, the chilling horror of David Parker Ray's actions began to reveal themselves in a manner that was almost surreal. Law enforcement officers, initially approaching the case as a series of missing persons, were rapidly met with an avalanche of evidence they had never anticipated. It was the audio tapes that became the linchpin for the prosecution, a damning narrative that painted a harrowing picture of Ray's sadistic exploits. Each cassette played familiar scenes of despair, the vulnerable falling prey to the depths of his depravity. The sheer audacity of his acts was unfathomable, but now there was proof. In March 1999, a breakthrough came when a woman named Kelly Garrett managed to escape from Ray's clutches. Her courageous act would serve as the catalyst for unraveling the entire breadth of his horrific operations. Kelly's tale of terror brought the gruesome reality of the toy box to light. Upon her abduction, Ray had subjected her to psychological torment and physical violations that left indelible marks on her psyche. Yet, even amidst the unthinkable, she found a flicker of hope. With bravery coursing through her veins, Kelly sought assistance from a nearby couple, which ultimately led to a police investigation. Law enforcement initially received her story with skepticism. The horror she described seemed too unreal to be possible. How could anyone, let alone someone portrayed as a kind neighbor, have been capable of such acts? However, Kelly's account was corroborated by further evidence. Investigators began to piece together the puzzle, and Ray's trailer, once merely a common structure, now emerged as the epicenter of unimaginable suffering. The authorities executed a search warrant on Ray's property, and what they uncovered was nothing short of shocking. The toy box itself laid bare its secrets, filled with instruments of torture, whips, chains, gags, and other implements designed to inflict pain and terror. Photographs documenting his victims were found, each shot capturing the ravages of disbelief and despair. The grotesque juxtaposition of the trailer, a seemingly innocuous home, against the stark reality of its use rattled the officers who had come to expect the extraordinary in purely criminal investigations. As testimonies began to multiply, the scope of Ray's depravity became clearer. Multiple women, many of whom had disappeared in the surrounding areas over the years, came forward with stories that echoed a similar structure of manipulation, lured by false promises, stripped of their autonomy, and subjected to unspeakable torment. Each survivor's voice added a piece to the mosaic of his malice. Cindy Hendy, Ray's girlfriend and accomplice, found herself entwined in the investigation. In the pursuit of justice for Ray's victims, she was implicated as a willing participant, the embodiment of complicity that deepened the narrative of abuse. While she claimed to have been coerced, the overwhelming evidence painted a different picture, one of partnership in evil. Amid her own tangled allegiances, the complexities of her motivations were equally as perplexing as Ray's. How could she stand by, facilitating the torment of those who begged for their lives? In the face of overwhelming evidence, David Parker Ray was arrested, and the courtroom became a stage for a drama that captivated the nation. The trial unfolded as a chilling saga, a graphic illustration of human rights violations that demanded the attention of both local and national media. Questions flooded in: how did society allow this to happen? What systems failed the victims who fell into Ray's clutches? As the courtroom filled with survivors and advocates, stories of resilience emerged. They spoke not just of pain, but of survival, a testament to the irrepressible will to reclaim one's life. For many, the journey toward healing was arduous, fraught with the need to confront deeply buried trauma. In the very spaces where they had wrought terror, a strange form of empowerment began to bloom. Each testimony, shared with courage, became a thread in the resilient tapestry of their shared experience, a proof that their voices would no longer be silenced. The prosecution's case was compelling, fully illustrating Ray's twisted psyche and the extent of the horrors perpetrated within his trailer. Expert testimonies evaluated his conduct, highlighting a personality plagued by control issues and a penchant for manipulation. A chilling observation was made: Ray derived pleasure not only from the acts he committed but also from the utter domination he exerted over his victims. In stark contrast, defense arguments sought to portray Ray as a victim of circumstance, a product of his tumultuous upbringing and trauma. But even this narrative fell flat under the weight of the testimonies and evidence brought forth. The shadows of his childhood could not justify the profound impact of his predatory nature. There was little sympathy in the courtroom. The sheer violence of Ray's acts demanded accountability, not pity. As the verdict was delivered in 2000, David Parker Ray was found guilty on multiple counts, including kidnapping, sexual assault, and torture. He received a sentence of 224 years in prison, a judgment serving as validation to many whom he had wronged. For some, it felt like justice. Yet for others, the scars of trauma were far from healed. Healing takes time and effort, and the road was filled with challenges, reminding everyone that the deepest wounds cannot be undone by mere sentences. The community of Truth or Consequences grappled with the aftermath of Ray's actions. Trust had been shattered, and the very fabric of the town felt irrevocably changed. Vigilance emerged as a necessary ethos, and many residents took to educating others about the signs of manipulative behavior and the importance of awareness. From horror sprang resilience. Survivors became advocates, ensuring that the stories of Ray's victims would not fade into dust. They sought to support others who had experienced trauma, creating safe spaces for dialogue and healing. The legacy of the Toy Box Killer became a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of the vulnerability within humanity and the collective responsibility to shield one another from harm. The echoes of his malevolence served not only as a testament to evil but also illuminated the capacity for compassion, community, and healing. As we reflect on the life and actions of David Parker Ray, it's essential to understand that despite the darkness he personified, there remains light. There are countless individuals dedicated to protecting the vulnerable, advocating for victims, and dismantling cycles of violence. Each survivor is a reminder of resilience, a testament that it is possible to confront and challenge even the darkest realities. The toy box may have closed, but its lessons resonate loud and clear. Empowerment begins in the acknowledgement of pain, extends into the realm of advocacy, and culminates in a community's shared determination to foreground safety and support for all. David Parker Ray's story is not merely one of horror but ultimately one of hope, a reminder that, though we often grapple with shadows, we can also nourish the seeds of resilience and healing in their wake. Standing together against darkness, we continue to heal, rebuilding a world where support and solidarity illuminate the path forward.